Hello friends, welcome to the current affairs analysis for 8th of February 2020. Our first news is the finance minister has said that it expects 80% of individual taxpayers to move to new slab regime. So, as we discussed in the budget video, new tax slabs have been announced by the finance minister in this budget. So, for example, those who whose income is from 5 to 10 lakh rupees, earlier they used to fall in the bracket of 20%, but now it has been bifurcated into two brackets. So 5 to 7.5 lakh rupees comes under 10% tax bracket, and 7.5 to 10 lakh rupees annual income comes under 15% tax bracket. So, but these slabs are optional in nature. So if you avail the earlier higher tax rates, you will be able to get exemptions. Whereas if one moves to the new tax slabs, there will be no exemptions. So the government is basically trying to move towards a no exemption system. Although some experts had criticized it because it is too complicated since it has more income slabs, but the government is sticking to it, and government has expected that 80% of individual taxpayers will move to the new slabs. What is the reason for that? According to the revenue secretary, around 69% of existing taxpayers will benefit from the new slabs, while 11% would see no change in their tax outgo by switching to the new system. So for 80% of the people, it will be beneficial if they switch to the new tax slabs. And with this, India is moving towards a no exemption, lower tax system. So what it means is that you have to pay low taxes, but you will not be allowed any exemption. So this is a step to curb the loopholes in the taxation system of India. Our second news is that a BJP MP tried to introduce civil code bill in the parliament, but he could not do so because at that time many of the BJP members were not present in the house, so it could not be moved. So he chose not to introduce the bill. So what is the bill that the person is talking about? It is the Uniform Civil Code bill. So what is the Uniform Civil Code? Basically, all the religions in India, be it Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, or Sikhism, they have their separate laws in most of the civil cases. So each and every religion needs to have a civil law for the purpose of divorce, for the purpose of marriage, for the purpose of adoption, maintenance, etc. So many of the religions have their different customs and different rules as far as these civil laws are concerned. So they have different rules for their civil laws, but Uniform Civil Code seeks to make a uniform code for all the religions. So what it means is that, for example, if today one custom is allowed in one religion which goes against any of the provisions of the constitution, but the other religion allows the same custom, but that is within the purview of the constitution. So in a uniform civil code, those things will happen in a uniform manner. For example, if we talk about maintenance, so maintenance is the amount of money that a wife can claim from her husband in case of divorce or in case the divorce proceedings are undergoing. So in some religions, maintenance is granted, whereas in some religious laws, maintenance is not granted. One prominent example is the Shah Bano case, in which the Muslim women were not allowed maintenance from their husbands. So, but in Hinduism and in Christianity and in other religions, maintenance is allowed. So if we make a uniform civil code, all the religions will come on an equal footing. So any malpractice or any derogatory custom which is prevalent in one religion will be eliminated. But uniform civil code is not being taken up by any government because it is a controversial subject. Many people think that uniform civil code will lead to the elimination of their customs. For example, many Muslims think that they will not be able to do a nikah, they will have to do a vivah, but that is not true. Their customs will be retained, but these legal provisions will become uniform. So this bill has not been able to introduced. So just like I told you that the provision of uniform civil code is there in the constitution, so it is there. So which article of the Indian constitution envisages the enactment of a uniform civil code? Now there are 4 articles given here. Let us see them. So article 25 talks about right to religion, but this is in part 3 of the constitution, which is fundamental rights. The second article is Article 32. This again talks about right to constitutional remedies. So it mentions 5 writs, those of habeas corpus, quo warranto, mandamus, certiorari, and prohibition. So these again fall under Part 3 of the Constitution, which is fundamental rights. Article 44 talks about the Uniform Civil Code, and this is under Part 4 of the Constitution, which is the directive principles of state policy. So these are those principles which the founders of the Constitution expected the government to follow while making any policies. So Article 44 is under Part 4. That means it is not enforceable as such. So the enforcement of Part 4 provisions depends on the capacity and depends on the resource availability with the government. Then Article 50 talks about the separation of judiciary from the executive. So this also again comes under the Part 4 of directive principles of state policy. So Uniform Civil Code, although is there in the Constitution, but it is not enforceable because it is under Part 4, and Part 4 implementation depends on the limit of resources available with the government. Our next news is of Gaganyaan. So Gaganyaan will be the first manned mission of Indian Space Research Organization, and India is planning this mission in partnership with Russia. Russia will provide technical expertise as far as the training of astronauts and some other logistics are concerned, and government is planning to roll out this mission by the year 2022. So the news is about 4 Indian Air Force men who have been selected to be trained as astronauts, and they will be sent to Russia for their 15-month training. So this is the news about Gaganyaan. Then again a news about coronavirus. So coronavirus has been in news for quite a while now. Novel coronavirus is a virus which has started from Wuhan in the Hubei province of China, and it is a zoonotic infection. A zoonotic infection means that it spreads from animal to human, and a few cases have been detected in India. 3 to 4 cases have been there in the state of Kerala, but evacuation has been done. So various countries like USA, Japan, and India also have evacuated their citizens from the city of Wuhan. India has also evacuated hundreds of citizens from Wuhan, and World Health Organization has declared it as a public health emergency of international concern. The Kerala, 3 days back, Kerala had declared the onslaught of coronavirus as a state calamity, but after it has been curbed, it has withdrawn the status of state calamity warning. So this is a good signal, but still long-term checks have been put in place, and this status has been put on hold. So it is not necessary that if once the Kerala has withdrawn state calamity warning, it cannot be reimposed, but for now the calamity has been averted. Finally, our last news is about the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. So Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Anurag Thakur, has claimed that in Parliament that Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which was passed in 2016 by the Modi government, which was for resolution of stressed assets, which was for declaring bankruptcy and for declaring that a company has gone bankrupt and it wants to wind up its operations so that the stressed assets can be reduced. So this bill was passed in 2016, and under this act the non-performing assets have been reduced by 4 lakh crore rupees, and this is a major development because non-performing assets has been a major problem as far as the banking sector is concerned. So according to the minister, at the beginning of the tenure of this government in 2014, the non-performing assets stood at 52 lakh crore rupees, but now it has come down to 18 lakh crore rupees, and even after that 4 lakh crore more have been recovered under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. So under this code, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India has been constituted, and cases are brought before the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, and they are then referred to the either for liquidation or for solving the problem of non-performing asset, and therefore the interest burden that accumulates over a period of time is not allowed to happen. So that leads to the good financial health of the entire financial system. So under this IBC, such achievements have been done. So this is a major development. Thank you everyone. This has been the news analysis for 8th of February 2020.